I also played, yeah, I mean, just a lot of Oculus games mainly. Aside from that, I played a lot of Uncharted 4. Um, I can talk about Uncharted 4 a bit. We're gonna have a little bit of a surprise for the show, if not next week, the week afterwards, which is gonna be pretty cool. That's when I want to get real in depth with Uncharted. For those of you who listen to the show a lot, I'm pretty sure you can put two and two together on that. But for those who don't, I'm gonna leave it a surprise. It's gonna be fucking cool. But yeah, so I played a lot of Uncharted 4, infinitely more than when I originally was on here last week talking about it. Uncharted 4, you know, man, Uncharted 4 at its best is an immensely satisfying, cinematic, fucking romp through a beautifully detailed environments that just are so varied and so expansive and just kind of mind-bogglingly detailed. But at its worst, it can feel like kind of a clunky third-person shooter. So, to kind of expand on what I said last week, the combat, I kind of knocked it. I said it wasn't anything that special. I gotta say, you know, it's immensely satisfying when it comes down to it. It's everything from the amount of vibration the controller does, to the sound of the actual weapons, to, you know, just the actual badassness of being able to hang from a ledge, like in cover, like you're like, oh shit, and pop out, and for like while holding onto the edge of a cliff and go pop, pop and just headshot these motherfuckers. So cool. The actual like action set pieces, it's funny because if you watch the E3 demo that they originally put out to, you know, show the game, that's
the mudslide thing?
Yeah, that's like the bigger set piece, like one of the biggest ones where he's like fucking hanging off like the hook of a fucking pickup truck and he's like hanging off the highway, like hitting into like wooden barriers and shit. That sequence is incredible. There isn't a whole lot of other sequences that kind of compete with that one. I mean, I think that one is just absolutely like jaw-droppingly like holy shit. So in that sense, I really wish that would have been a surprise more than it was just kind of like you should. It's kind of like when a trailer shows you, you know, all the funny parts or all the scary parts in a movie.
Oh yeah.
So in that sense, I wish I wouldn't have, you know, seen it, but it's definitely immensely satisfying to know, holy shit, you really do just have a lot of control during these sequences. And I have to really commend Naughty Dog for that, because most games, when you're in a situation, it's a fucking QTE or you're not in control or anything like that. But I swear to God, like 90% of all those sequences, you really are in control. Like they'll be like, at what point can we stop it being a cutscene and put the character back into the action? So you'll find situations where like you'll be in these immensely cinematic moments where you're like sliding down crumbling buildings and you're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Only to realize, holy fuck, I'm in control. And then the moment that clicks, you can like, a little prompt will be like, hey dude, use your hook shot on that fucking like beam, that support beam that hasn't fallen. And you'll just throw it up and swing, and it's immensely fucking satisfying. From a single player standpoint, I think it's really worth checking the whole thing out. If I'm 100% real, as fun as the multiplayer is, man, I gotta say rent it. Rent it, beat the shit out of the fucking single player, enjoy it. But, I mean, you know, for $60, I mean, you're getting around 12 to 14 hours of a story. But after that, I want to keep the game simply because I actually want to come back to it. When it comes to plotline and when it comes to pacing, this game is fucking excellent. It reminds me a lot of The Last of Us in the sense that The Last of Us really knew when to linger in moments, to really let a moment stick, and for you to kind of like be like, these are people. They're having, you know, conversations about shit. Whereas the other Uncharted games felt a little bit more like, we need to go do this. Yeah, here's a quirky comment. All right, let's go over there and do this. Yeah, let's do just really fucking like real fast paced, kind of there was no emotion behind a lot of the stuff. Not to say the game was emotionless, 1, 2, or 3. Maybe 1 was emotionless, but
Oh,
2 and 3 far from. Though I would argue that I like 2 more than 3. But I don't know. Honestly, if you like Uncharted 1, 2, especially 2 and 3, if you really like Uncharted, this game, I mean, you already own it. You already own Uncharted 4, and you understand exactly what I'm saying. This game is a reason to buy a PS4 right now. It is that good. However, it's still an Uncharted game.
And let's not forget, you so wish that you got Overwatch.
You know, I probably would have taken Uncharted over Overwatch. Pun. But I don't know, man. It's a really, really entertaining game. Like, I was really surprised. I've been vocal about it on the show before. I'm not that huge of an Uncharted fan, but fuck if this game didn't absolutely get me hooked. I mean, it introduces enough different elements like rope swinging and cover shooting in kind of like strange positions to the sheer amount of just like fan service detail, the way they jump, because like this game revolves around. Okay, here's kind of a spoiler, but if you even saw the reveal of Uncharted 4, you already know this. Your brother, Nate's brother, shows up, and he needs you for something. He needs you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, naturally, Nate's brother Sam has not been introduced in the series before. If he has, it's been in passing, and I don't remember it, but as far as I know, he's never been a main point in a plotline. So they go all the way back to when they're kids, and there are sequences where you play as Nate when he's a kid, or there'll be sequences where you play as Sam, or you know what I mean? And they're willing to go, okay, hold on, we have a progression going, but let's take a look, let's go back, and it's shit like that keeps the story feeling fresh. It always feels like, hey, they're not just recycling and throwing shit at me, that feels like buffer. But that being said, there actually is one sequence that feels a lot like buffer, and I know a lot of people gave this reviewer shit, but the reviewer from IGN had mentioned, and maybe it's a placebo effect and maybe I'm just lingering on it, but the third act of the game, specifically when you're on, like, I don't want to spoil it too much, but basically you're on an island, and the island starts to transform into kind of jungles naturally. And it kind of covers all bases in the sense that it's like a farewell. It's a farewell, to the Uncharted series. They kind of go through all the cool, environments that they did in the past games, but with the PS4, sheen and sparkle. Their homage to Uncharted 1 Uncharted 1 lasts just a bit too long. You're in this jungle environment and shit kind of starts to blend together, and it feels like, I mean, the story is going. It's just that there are these like long gaps in time where it's like, okay, Nate and Sam need to go find the door, and then they're like, we found the door, and there's a quick cutscene, and it's like, you could have just cut to the part where they find the door. I mean, and they'll fill it with, I mean, admittedly, it's fun to, stealth kill. There's a strong emphasis on stealth in this game. It's fun to stealth kill. It's fun to, go guns blazing. That's all great and good, but definitely in the third act when you're in the jungle, it blurs together. There comes a point where you're like, holy shit, I get it. We're in the jungle. This game is fucking eye-bleedingly gorgeous. The sound is fucking astounding. The animation's great. Everything's great. But it feels like a whole lot of buffer in that sense. That is the only spot. Everything else, you're just like, holy shit, new area. Holy shit, new area. Whoa, that's interesting. Oh my God, I found something. I was exploring and I randomly found something. It's so cool in that sense. And it's just a shame that towards the end of the game, it does lose a little bit of steam. But the conclusion lifts it off the fucking ground, and it's such a cool way to end the series. And I'm a major fan of the game, and I think you should definitely give it a shot. I adore the game. I mean, like I said, the multiplayer is great and all, but you bought Uncharted 4 for the single player, and if you bought it for the multiplayer, I don't know why you did that.
I told you, like, one of the first games I wanted to get was Ocarina of Time on the 3DS, and you said that's an awesome idea, especially because it feels so much more natural and it feels like an actual like, as you mentioned, a homage to Nintendo. You fucking piece of shit, Roger.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just kidding.
Like, I think that you said, like, damn, that was well written or something one time on a forum, on one of the posts, a comment that I made on Interact, where somebody was talking about Legend of Zelda, and they said, what's the big deal about it? And then I typed out a little essay, and either you or Brody said, like, damn, that was really well worded. Because back then, I only played about like only one game, which was A Link to the Past, and then a handful of Game Boy Advance ones, which I completely forgot about because, you know, I was younger. But now that I'm finally able to play the one that's like kind of like the love child of everybody's like, oh, this one's the best one in the whole series. This is the only one you need to play ever. And, like, you know, I didn't believe it, but I can kind of see where they're coming from, because everything's just so well paced out, and the spacing is so good, and the environment, and being able to if you can tell that it was one of the very first games where you could actually explore everywhere. And the combat kind of feels a little bit clunky, but I mean, it's a Nintendo 64 game being ported to a 3DS.
JJ,
you know what?
Can you clarify what game you're talking about? I know it's Legend of Zelda, but which one?
Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time.
Good job. Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh my god. I don't know how. I don't even remember how long I've been a fan of Legend of Zelda for. I just know that, like, ever since I played A Link to the Past, I've been a fan. And I can totally see how Ocarina of Time would have drawn people in, especially with all the colors and all the. There's no speech in the game. There's, like, you know, yelling or whatever, but from all of the character designs and from all of the text bubbles, I can see how they're so entrancing and lovable. And I think I've put in about 12 hours or 4 hours. No, not 4. It's about 12. But I've been dicking around, you know. I'm nowhere near completion. I've just been walking around and not using the fast travel owl or whatever. And I'm loving it, man. I don't know if you're not a big fan of Legend of Zelda, are you?
Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. I gotta get ready for this. Let's see.
Yeah, get me ready.
Let's see. Okay. Put that.
No
on.
lube.
Okay. Let's put that right there. All right.
Snort your coke.
All 7 of you guys listening to this right now, y'all get real close. Y'all get real close to the monitor. Y'all get real close to the screen.
Lay it on me, Roger, because I'll fucking take you on.
All right, get real close. Okay, here we go. The Legend of Zelda is overhyped as fuck. Here's why.
You tell me why, because this is the first time that I played Ocarina of Time, and I'm actually really enjoying it without knowing a goddamn thing about Ocarina of Time.
The game, all the games, especially the 3D ones, are great games. They are really, really, really good. And their impact on the action platformer, action adventure, RPG genre is immeasurable. Huge, huge influences. Here's the thing. As good as they are, as good as those stories are, as good as those fucking characters are, they have aged like shit. The game that you're playing right now is a retooled version of the original. You literally needed to have played the game back then to still have love for it today. If you're jumping in today specifically, and I mean, there's no one size fits all with people, but 99% of the people, including myself, that have gone back and gone, holy shit, this game is on like best game ever lists since
Everywhere.
like fucking 2001. Every year it's on the best games of all time lists. Every time. Top 10, top 5. That's a lot of nostalgia talk. It's a fucking awesome ass game. Both Ocarina and Majora's Mask. Fucking awesome ass games. They just haven't aged that great. And I don't understand why fans get so deeply offended by that. The 3DS remakes, which thankfully fans actually like, are fucking excellent because they fix quite a number of the little annoyances that the original game had. But still, even those 3DS remakes, it's not a one shoe fits all.
Yeah, of course not.
People are going to pick that game up. I guarantee you, oh man, the numbers of people that probably went out and went, holy shit, gotta get these Legend of Zelda N64 remake games like fucking now. They get them, they'd never finish them. I'm one of those people. I didn't get it on 3DS. I tried to play the original. I have tried to play Majora's Mask like about 9 times now. Shit, I even just, as a matter of like maybe a year ago, I tried to play Twilight Princess. I can't get into that one either.
Well, Twilight Princess isn't very good, but okay.
I don't understand you guys. Like, what the fuck? Okay, so like, first of all, Twilight Princess was like the greatest game ever made.
Who the fuck said that?
And then, okay, when did the game come out?
2005.
Okay, 2005 is what you said?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, so 99% of the U.S. population in 2005 said that. Everybody.
What the fuck?
Everybody. Okay. It was like
the
only game that has been like bastardized by the fucking fan base has been Skyward Sword. That game has openly been criticized to shit and back.
Well, fuck those people, because I like Skyward Sword.
Oh, sweet God. Okay, hang on.
I think you're getting your reviews mixed up because Twilight Princess. I mean, it's a fair game, but it was on the Wii, and the problem with it being on the Wii is that they added the waggle controls and shit like that.
It
and
was
that
on
just
the GameCube, you bitch.
Oh, I'm talking about the Wii U release. Okay, the Wii U release. I mean, the Wii remake wasn't very good.
The Blockbuster.
My bad. Blockbuster.
When you played it at Blockbuster on the NX.
Yeah. You bastard.
You bitch!
I'll find you, Roger, and I will pull out your eyeballs and stick them up your ass so far that
The Legend of Zelda sucks.
Throw them up.
The Legend of Zelda sucks. Okay, there we go. Now I got your attention. Yeah, no, I'm glad that you're enjoying the games. I wish I could enjoy them. Unfortunately, I just can't. I mean, I respect them. I respect what they did to the industry. I respect the legacy that they hold, and I respect, honestly, the astounding nature of their storytelling. I just don't think they're that fun of games, and
yeah,
I wish I did.
I could see where you're coming from, especially because the camera control kind of sucks because you have to constantly press the left shoulder button, and at least on the 3DS, everything I'm gonna talk about is on the 3DS because I don't know shit about it on the N64. So yeah, you got to press the left shoulder button, and whenever you're doing that, it's like it aims to your back, but it's also if you hold it, then you can move the camera around slightly and get like a higher field of view, and that's not very intuitive at all. Like, you'll fall off a ledge a lot just from that. Fucking that's my ringtone, or that's my text message sound.
Nice.
I should have let it play all the way through because it's a cool riff. But anyway, yeah. So I can see where people don't like Legend of Zelda games, especially Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, because they are difficult to get into, and the combat is. I mean, I know that the combat's not perfect. And especially not on those games because the hitboxes are like so narrow, or like your hitbox is huge because your hitbox starts at like your fucking sword, and that's plain retarded. And then the enemy's hitbox, you have to be so goddamn close to them. But your sword is like you get. How do you get damage from getting tapped on your sword? So I mean, like I understand that people don't like the combat. I mean, I see that because even for me, it gets a little bit annoying, and especially for all of the 3D Legend of Zelda games. But an Ocarina of Time, honestly, it's just the story and the characters that's pushing me through, and then all of the quality of life edits that they did, like making 1 or 2 zones easier, making it so that you can fast travel to and from like some of the major areas that are very far away from each other, like Zora's Domain, the Hyrule Castle, the Hylia Lake, and stuff like that. And I mean, those are great, and I understand why they put them in there, but I can even with all of those, I can still see why people wouldn't want to play it just from the really bad camera controls, the lore that's like kind of force fed into you, and if you don't like it, well, tough shit because it's the entire damn game, and the combat is just it gets so annoying at a certain point where even I'm wanting to just be like, nope, I'm noping out. But I'm not going to do it because I've been too big of a Legend of Zelda fan for a while. And I say that even though this is my first time playing Ocarina of Time. So, yeah, shit on me, right?